I want to talk about some of the commands for this week. I've opened up AutoCAD, and this is I've got a blank screen here. I want to use the layers that I created before, so I'm going to go open up a drawing that I saved with my layers. You can open up a previous file, or I created a drawing and just called it layers. And now I do File, Save As, the new lab that I'm doing. And I've got all my layers that were created before. First of all, I need to decide, what layer I want to be on. So right now I'm going to draw some stuff on the object layer. We've talked about line before. That's under Draw and Line. It's also under the Draw Shortcut toolbar. If you don't have the Shortcut toolbar, Draw and Modify open, you can right-click the gray area, go to AutoCAD, and look for Draw and Modify, and be sure that both of those are checked. And you can move those around if they're not. Oops, I moved the wrong one. Left-click and drag. Hold down the left and drag that until it's where you want it. See that one? If you like it better at the top of the page, you can. I always station mine over on one on the left and one on the right. So I'm working on the line command. Click a starting location. My orthographic snap is on, so this is snapping horizontally and vertically. If you happen to bring yours up and that is not on, then you can turn it on. And then if I want to draw a line that goes to the right 7 inches, then I move my mouse in the direction that I want my line to go, type 7, and hit enter. If I'm done, I can hit enter again and I'm out of that command. If now I want to draw a line and I want it to be vertical up or down, then first I move my mouse in that direction and then type in the dimension. If I wanted to draw an angular line or one that was not horizontal or vertical, then I would take that orthographic snap off. I'll draw a few lines in here. Only because I'm getting ready to do a copy command. Now copy is under Modify, and you can look for it under Modify here. And until you get used to the picture, you might want to look at Modify because it does have a picture beside it. And then you can start relating the picture over on the right hand side to the copy command itself. So I use copy, and it says select the objects. So let's say that I want to copy this line, and it's still waiting for me to select objects. If I wanted to select several objects to copy at the same time, I could keep selecting. If I'm done, then I hit enter, and it says specify a base point. Well, let's say that I want to copy this line, and I want to copy it from the midpoint of here to the point here. So I need to select that line that I'm going to copy from. I need to select the base point as the point I want to be my handle. And then I can set it down exactly where I want to. If I want to continue copying, I can continue copying it to different spots, or I can right click to finish. Do the copy again, modify, copy, and I'm going to select the same line, and this time I want to copy it, let's say from the end point to another point. So I'm going to right click and enter for completing my selection of the object I wanted to copy, and I'm going to let my base point be here, and then I'm going to copy it here, and maybe I want to copy it to another spot here, and right click and enter. Now one thing that I mentioned before is if you want your right click to be enter. So I think this would be a good time to discuss that. I'm going to go to Tools, Options, and I believe it's under User Preferences. Look for right-click customization. And under here, you can use some different things for your right-click. And my right-click is set up to be a shortcut menu when I'm in the middle of a command. If you want your right-click to be Enter, then you can click right here, and then every time you right-click, it will enter. It may disable the shortcut menu, but yet in other commands, like if you're editing, it brings up a shortcut menu in the middle of a command. So let's just try that. Apply and close, and then you can click on either Apply or OK. I'm going to show you that one more time. Tools, Options, User Preferences tab, right-click Customization, and that will show you some of that information. So I'm going to click out of that, and then that way you don't have to reach down over to the keyboard and hit Enter. You should be able to right-click and enter. So that was the copy command, and we always have to specify a base point. I'm going to use copy one more time, but this time I'm going to copy more than one. I'll copy those three, and if I'm done selecting, I hit Enter, and I'm going to copy them from here, scoot around, and I'm just going to copy that whole thing right here. And you can see that I'm copying it from a point to a point, and where I copied that base point from, that is my handle that I've got on the object. I can keep on copying that, and then I can right click to automatically hit Enter when I finish that. Fillet is one you're going to have to use on Lab 3, I believe. It's under Modify. You can see Fillet, and it looks like a round corner. You can also see that command over on the right hand side. So I'm going to choose that, and you can see it says Select First Object Or. It gives me some options here, and just above it in the gray area, it tells me the current settings. The current settings of Fillet is first of all to trim, and that means that when it rounds a corner, then it's going to also cut back the lines, the straight lines that it's creating a radius at. And you'll be able to see that a little more clearly when it finishes. Currently the radius is 0, and that's just going to give me a 90-degree corner. So if I want to enter a radius, I type R, press Enter, and then I type in the radius that I want. I put in 1/4 of an inch and hit Enter. And now it wants me to select the first object, so I just select the first line. I don't necessarily have to be close to the corner. And then it wants me to select the next line. So it put a slight radius in there, and that was a small one. And it also trimmed off the lines that would have extended out this way. So it trimmed those off nicely. Instead of meeting each other, they trim off to where that radius is. And go to this one. And I'm going to do the fillet command again. Like I said, it's over here. And also if I type F and hit Enter, it brings up fillet. Now since 0.25 was the last one that I used, that is still in there, but I'm going to type R. I'm going to make a bigger radius. Now it didn't show up that well. And then I'm going to click here and here, and then it brings a radius in there for me. If I use Modify, Fillet, I'm going to leave it at 0.75, but I'm going to do lots of them. Let's say that in a couple of labs you got 4 corners to do, so I'm going to type M for multiple, and I'm going to click here and here and here and here and here and here, and yeah, I can just keep on and on and on. You can see that may have trimmed that differently than what you wanted it to, but I could keep on creating fillets everywhere. If I'm done, just right click and I can get out of that. Offset, Modify, Offset. Offset creates a line that's just like the first one you select, but at a particular distance away. So let's say that I wanted a line that was 1 inch away from that line. Look exactly like it 1 inch away from it. The default of offset is to let you locate it on the screen. But it's really more convenient to use offset with a dimension. So I'm going to type in 1 inch, and then it says select the object to offset. So I'm going to select that object, and then it says specify a point on side to offset. If I want it to offset this way, I need to click here on the screen. If I want it to offset the other way, I need to click that way. So I want it to select downward. And then I can keep on selecting because I'm still in the command. And I can locate a bunch of lines a certain distance apart, all of them equally spaced. Right click, I'm out of the offset command. I want to use modify, move. And let's say that I have an object. Let's say that I have these two lines that make an X. So I selected both of those. I'm done selecting, hit enter. Wants a base point. I want to select it from the intersection of those, and I want to move it over, say here at end point. And it's snapping to my end points because my object snap is on over here. So that moved that X from this area over here. So move is kind of like copy, but it gets rid of the original. Draw, circle. I've got some different options that I can choose. If I've been given a hole diameter, I can choose diameter, and I can also choose some other ways to use the circle command. So I'm going to choose the center diameter, and I'm going to locate a circle right here. I specified the center point. I can either move my mouse to locate it, or I can type in a dimension. So I'm going to say I got a 1 inch diameter circle. If I want to check and be sure that I drew that circle correctly, maybe it looks too small, I can go to Modify, Properties. It brings up a dialog box, and if I select an object inside my screen, then it gives me information about that circle. And that circle is 1 inch diameter. It also gives me the radius and the circumference. Just a way of checking to be sure that I have drawn that circle correctly. Trim. Let's say that I've got some lines that need to be trimmed back. Modify, trim. Trim works based on cutting edges, like where you're placing the scissors. So if you want a line cut back to a particular location, let's say that I want to cut a line, let's say that I want to cut this line, and I want to cut it right here. I want it to stop right there at that line. I can select the cutting edge first, where I'm going to put the scissors. And if I'm done selecting cutting edges, because I can select cutting edges all around, enter. And then I select the line that I want to cut back. And then it cuts it exactly to that cutting edge. I'm going to undo. Probably the easiest way to use trim is to let everything be a boundary, and that way you can cut back several lines at one time. Let's say I'm going to cut back a lot of these lines. So I'm going to use Modify, Trim, and if I hit Enter, that's telling the computer I want everything to be a boundary. And then I can click the lines I want to cut back. Now the only thing about trim is, let's say that I wanted to trim these lines back to here. I have to keep selecting the line until it trims it back to where I want it to be. You see, if I keep clicking the line, it will trim back until I no longer have a boundary anymore. So I'm going to right click and get out of that. I'm going to use the opposite of a trim as extend, modify, extend. Extend works a similar way, except instead of a cutting edge, it wants to know where's the boundary you want a line to extend to. So I'm going to pick this as a boundary line, and then I'm going to pick this line that I want to extend to it. Try that again. Modify, extend, pick a boundary, hit enter, click the line, and it extended that line to that boundary. Now, modify, extend also works in that same respect that extend does, in that if I hit enter now, then everything is a boundary, and then I can select a line and just keep extending it until I run out of boundaries. All these lines that I trimmed off before, I can just keep extending those. If I wanted to extend these out, I have to have a boundary for them to extend to. See, if I click that line, it'll extend to here, and that one extend to there. But these, I'm clicking on them, but they have nowhere to extend to. So sometimes if you want a line to be longer than it is, then you might have to draw a construction line out here just so that you can extend those lines out. So I'm going to right click to end that. I believe I did text before, but I'm going to go ahead and do draw text, multi-line text, make a box. I want to be sure that this is 1/8 of an inch, 1/8, or I can type in 0.125. I've got a text dialog box where I can change the font. I can center it, I can left justify, make it bold. We'll talk about some of the others later. So, zoom in a little bit. Yeah, just so I can see what I'm doing. And type my text. The only other thing I wanted to do was show you about center lines. Let's say that I wanted to put some center lines on that circle. I'll go to my center line layer. Turn on my orthographic snap. I think I'm going to make that circle a little bit bigger so you can see my center lines better. Draw, circle. Put it on the wrong layer, didn't I? Change that to my objects layer. I still want to draw some center lines, so I'm going to leave my center line layer on, draw a line from the center of that circle outward, draw another one. Okay, let's say that I want these center lines to be at equal distance beyond that circle. So I'm going to draw another circle. This time I am going to change my layer to objects, draw a circle. Let's say I want my center lines to stop right along there. So I want to trim this line to stop here, and I want to extend it all the way out to here and extend this one out to here. I'm going to get rid of some of this other stuff that's in my way. And I'm just clicking and dragging and getting this green box that selects everything that it touches. So I'm going to use modify, trim. I'm going to hit enter, let everything be a boundary. Click that, it trims that up. Right click to end it, modify, extend, hit enter, let everything be a boundary. And then just click that into that line until it extends out to where I want it to. Now I can erase that construction circle that I drew, and I've got my center lines. They're equally spaced all the way around because I forced them to be that way. Okay, I'm going to do one more video for this week.